the second of Margaret Singer's 6 conditions of thought reform. Control the person's physical and or social environment, and especially control the person's time. Now, in many forms of religious spiritual training, there is a period of time when the person will do a kind of program of training where their time will be very, very tightly controlled. However, in high demand groups, that is taken to like the next level. I was doing some training with a mainstream Buddhist group in Japan at a mainstream temple. And one thing we had to do, this was 2 or 3 day periods, was keep washing the same floor over and over and over again. And at one point I had to sift through the incense. So when incense burn down, they leave kind of dust, and the little tiny ends of the incense sticks are left in that dust. And that dust is smoothed over and it looks very nice gray, and a new incense stick is put in there. I had to go through all that dust, and I happen to have dust allergies, and I had to kind of like sift through it. But I had to do this 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in a weekend. Now, there might be some value to that. I don't know that actually there is any value to that. Maybe there is. But there might be some value to that for religious training. But this kind of time control would be over a long period of time and in every aspect of the person's life. So what these high demand groups tend to do is they tend to ask you to volunteer pretty early on. So they control your time by telling you need something. For example, you join a group, you take a meditation course, and then, the meditation course is great, but there's a philosophy behind meditation, so why don't you take our philosophy course? Once you take the philosophy course, you might need to do an astrology package. Once you do the astrology package, you might need to do a remedy for a problem somebody found in your astrology. And then all of this starts costing money, and usually incrementally the prices go up and up and up and up until you're spending just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars on this stuff. And it's no different than a drug at that point. Now, what happens in some of these groups is the packages and what the courses become so expensive that people really can't afford them unless they volunteer their time at a center or at a group place controlled by this group. So they might engage in more and more and more and more volunteer hours and take more courses, and slowly their time is being taken away from them. Now, they're doing this willingly as participants because there's belief involved. But what happens is there's usually a threshold, and there's usually a reasonability threshold, because if you're into a new, group, movement, philosophy, religion, education system, you do have to give it time. There's I don't think any way around that. But when more time is demanded of you, that's when it becomes a problem. And often the participants won't realize it's a problem until they're physically and socially isolated. Here's how that would work. Let's say I started my own group called Walshism. Ugh, please no. And I, had classes, and then I had a weekend retreat somewhere in the country. That's when you're isolated, and that's when I have you. 3-day retreat, for example, for a group of people that's already been indoctrinated, or a 3-month retreat, or a 3-year retreat. It happens. 3 years. And then the person's controlled. There are very few people in the contemporary world who can take 3 years out of their lives to give to a specific practice. So generally that person has to make sacrifices in order for that to make that happen. And once they do, that's when people really get in the thick of it. And that's when their time starts to be controlled in their social environment. Now they're also socially isolated from the rest of their family, their friends, their environments. And again, this is a very normal thing in a lot of different spiritual groups and practices. And it's a good thing too. It's not a bad thing in a certain contexts. But when it's manipulated, it becomes literally hell. There's a great documentary on Netflix called Holy Hell that I really recommend you watch, because it takes you through the mind manipulation. and the thought reform programs of a very sick man. Okay, thank you very much, and I will see you all later. Bye-bye.